Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick and George here with 51% on Rotten Tomatoes. Or Metacritic.
Either way.
Take that enthusiasm, replace Rotten Tomatoes with Metacritic.
Dark Water. What year is this movie?
2004.
2004.
Jennifer Connelly, John C. Reilly.
Right? Pete Postlethwaite. Like the cast actually turned out to be amazing and interestingly varied people. But you hadn't seen this movie.
No. So what I wanted to say was I wanted to go into this movie because it's funny. While I was working today, I was thinking like, oh, we're gonna watch this movie called Dark Water. There's definitely gonna be water in it, but I imagine like a big open sea like boat movie or
like
something
an open
like that.
water.
Yeah. I did not expect this.
47 meters down.
But tell everyone, because this is what hooked me immediately. So I tried to know as little as possible.
Yes.
But what you and Alex were talking about before watching the movie really sold me. So tell everyone who the guy who wrote this, what he did.
Right. So Koji Suzuki wrote The Ring, and then obviously is a big part of why the whole J-horror thing kicked off here, or at least in whatever incarnation you want to count that. I mean, we did a whole episode on Onibaba, so don't have to sell me. But the thing is that what this guy did was this turns into Dark Water turned into, I guess, I thought of it as the Let Me In of the remakes, of the American remakes of kind of like that cycle, The Ring, The Grudge, and Dark Water. Right? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, just the fact that it's the guy who wrote the Ring.
Right. Well,
that instantly
you know
sold.
what? Can we just jump into this now? Because what's amazing to me is that's what worked against this movie when it came out.
Oh.
And it's working for the movie for you now.
I asked
which
you
is
before
so
the movie
interesting.
started, I was like, are we going to get like the same feeling of The Ring? And you were like, yeah. And this movie, you get a little. So there's a few things that I got. First of all, I just want to spoil everyone. Tell this is at 80%. Like, I know we do that for the ending, but like, I love this movie so much. I had to jump the gun and just say, bam, bam.
All right, beautiful.
80%. Like this movie, I just went nuts for this movie. So I was wanting to know if we got some of the Ring vibes. I also got Studio Ghibli vibes, and there was another movie. Oh, this is a weird thing. Okay, I know I'm going a 1,000 miles an hour, but like it's like this is probably one of like my favorite movies I think we've done for How Low Can We Go. It's up there. It's not my favorite.
I love it.
But like as far as like a dark mystery goes, like this is like spot on. Like I just told Alex the next day we get a rainy day in LA, I want to watch Coraline.
Yeah, see.
But I might want to watch this now. But I got
this is freaking me out on your wall next to us while you're.
It's very. Oh, it is kind of weird.
Dark, watery. Right
this
next
piece
to
of
us.
art.
Okay.
So follow me on this journey.
Yes.
The last movie we watched 2 nights ago was Silver Linings Playbook.
Okay. My
first time seeing it, David Russell. Yeah, like I think I saw the other one he did, Boogie Night. No, that's Paul Thomas Anderson. American Hustle.
Yes.
I got a lot of similarities between Silver Linings Playbook and this. So both of them are people dealing with mental trauma that has more than likely been passed down by their family.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Yes.
Whereas Silver Linings Playbook deals with it externally. I felt like this movie took that kind of trauma and dealt with it internally.
No kidding. Wow. That's amazing to me that you got that from this, because I remember this. I remember loving the movie, but I wondered what would happen if someone hadn't seen those movies in a while, or like hadn't seen it at the time and came to it fresh. And the fact that you love that. Right.
I bring this up for a reason. So I know I always talk about when I watched Buried with Ryan Reynolds, how like it made me feel like short of breath. Not American Hustle. Silver Linings Playbook made me. I reacted really weird to it. Like it kind of made me panicky a little bit, which is the whole point. The whole point of it. And Alex felt the same way. She was like, "I loved this movie when it came out," but then halfway through, Alex paused and was like, "Can I get popcorn?" And I was like, "Oh, thank God!" Like I needed a break from it. And Alex was reacting to it as well.
That is so interesting.
But I just kept thinking about that movie while watching this because of how people are dealing with their own trauma.
Right. And it was giving you the similar kind of vibe, because so she's trying to hold everything together, but it's all disintegrating, right? That feeling,
yeah,
right, is there. And Silver Lining Playbook Okay, go ahead.
But anyways, so I got Studio Ghibli vibes.
Yes.
I also got a weird mix of. It also felt kind of like Silent Hill.
It does, absolutely does. A lot of why I love Silent Hill is why I love this movie.
And then the last thing that I was getting, I keep saying vibes. Oh my god, what am I going to talk about astrology afterward? That's such a Taurus thing. What you had mentioned before watching was you kind of compared him to Stephen King in his neck of the woods, where
the writer, just
the writer of this story, and you said the Ring would be his Carrie,
so, right. If the Ring is Carrie, then this would be The Shining,
and that hotel, not hotel, I keep calling it hotel, but that apartment building. I feel like for as many horror movies as we watch, there's not enough where we talk about the location being a character. And this place is creepy. It's dirty. It's wet.
Amazing.
You can smell it. It smells like mold. It smells like a humidifier I haven't cleaned in 6 months.
Everything that's happening right now is amazing to me. So we just watched this movie.
We're hot off of it.
Right, exactly. And honestly, it's known in horror. I mean, it's 51%. So it's known in horror for being relatively slow. I found out the director was really influenced by Rosemary's Baby, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of why Rosemary's Baby wouldn't work for you if this movie doesn't work for you, right? But it probably pertains across both movies, right? But if they work for you, then they're going to work for you, right? So the fact that this worked for you,
it works.
Like no, but here's the thing that's blowing my mind is so this movie's sitting almost at the average point, right? Like 51%. It's almost 50%. It's almost just like the horror equivalent of a shrug. And I think a lot of people took this movie as kind of a generic cash grab at the horror excitement or whatever.
Yeah, because when I was looking for it, the Japanese version came up.
Right.
It was like way highly
right, of course. This one. So, right, and I think because it's 50% and because of how horror fans think it, they think of it as generic. But the setting of this movie has always gripped me. I've seen this movie like 4 times. And I love the setting. I love how it's shot. I love what takes place in it. I know a lot of it's horrible, right? But there's something about... this would be a great haunt for me, right? Which is weird because that's not how people take this movie at all. That's not how horror fans think of this movie at all. They would be like, I would pay exactly $1 to go through a dark water haunt. But I think that's wrong. I love it.
I'd pay $10 to see the actor who's playing John C. Reilly. And over here, you got the foyer.
That's what I'm saying, right? You get to call Murray. That's going to be a fun experience. You get to try to get your leak fixed. And this guy who's totally, he's completely a malignant handyman, whatever his job is supposed to be.
He's not.
He's absolutely terrible.
He's like, I do these 3 things, and then you never see him do like any of it.
Right, exactly. But there's a deeper thing that I'm sure we'll get to, but I just want to finish with because your energy and how you're going with whatever, but just remind me, because there's a deeper thing about her being surrounded by a whole assortment of types of men that just let her down. Right. But okay. So this movie hit you, which is
in
amazing.
The atmosphere. Like, how
the fact that you love the atmosphere when people think it's generic is amazing.
Oh, dude. It's for the people who said that, you got to rewatch it because there's a shot where Jennifer Connelly's like sleeping on the couch in the middle of the day, and it's like a shot of her living room, and like the amount of heavy rain in the background, it's like the most comforting shot in a horror movie. But I do. So I will be honest. I do. As I said, as a horror movie, is it really like a horror movie? It's that weird. I hate this line because it's such an arbitrary discussion. But it's that. Is it like?
Here we go.
Is it the dark mystery?
No, I can't believe you're gonna. No, it's not.
I'll be honest, but I'm just gonna be real because the people who listen to this podcast probably want something that's very scary.
Sure.
This isn't it.
No,
this is not very scary, but I don't know what it is.
I find this movie terrifying, but in the way that I find Repulsion terrifying. It's about like a mental breakdown. It's not all in her head. This is not what's this kind of movie or whatever, but it does feel like that. It's built like that. It rides like that. It's that kind of car.
But here's my argument. I thought about this while we were watching because I knew you were going to have this reaction to it. If Vroman's, so for people in LA, Vroman's is a bookstore in Pasadena.
I know where you're going. And
if they had to play it, if they did movies, say they flipped it to movies, if you wanted to find Dark Water, we know where we find it.
Right.
next to that wine bar, right across from it, is the horror section.
Yes.
So it's not lost to me that is where I mentally placed it.
Right. Okay, you're right, and this argument's dumb. Totally, I agree with you. It is horror, and it's not horror. It's also dark mystery and dark thriller.
Yes,
clearly, totally. It's just like part of Train to Busan feels to me like a James Bond movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of fast moving parts.
Right, but it's action set in a train, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, am I watching Spectre? What's happening here, right? And that part doesn't feel like horror, but I mean, it is horror, and that's fine. It's absolutely not scary in the way that you would be looking for if you wanted to get scared by a movie. Like whatever your taste was, right? If you needed something with bite, if you're like, I want to see the Eden Lake kind of slasher and not the fun, corny kind of slasher, this is not it. This is not going to.
I keep thinking of Neil Gaiman.
Right. The atmosphere is fuzzier and softer. It's more foggy. This happens to me on our podcast a lot, but again, it feels like American Hammer. If there was an American Hammer version of whatever New York, circa Rosemary's Baby time to wherever this movie's set time, that whole swath of time in New York of horror movies, they look like this,
right?
Right? They have this atmosphere, whatever that atmosphere is, and instead of the Hammer fog, we have the steam that comes out of dirty laundromats, right? Instead of the Hammer lightning and thunder, we have the incessant pounding of the L train going by your window for your apartment. You spent $3,000 a month for 10 square feet or whatever, right? Like, this is American New York Hammer. That's got that atmosphere, but it nails it.
The isolation was also
right.
John C. Reilly's character, the guy who runs this apartment, the landlord, who's one still so funny because of how slimy he's being.
Completely.
It really got to me how he kept mentioning the island.
Right.
I just like, man, it feels so lonely over here. Like, it's like they just put in a pizza place here on the island. Like, man,
right.
I feel like I'm alone.
The isolation is real, which is interesting. Like having a movie that was made before the pandemic and watching it, wherever we are now, is interesting because there were too many. I thought the isolation I was going to have an interesting take on it, but I didn't at all. It didn't have the pandemic had no relevance to this movie because there's so many people moving about their daily lives in the background. It doesn't feel like that. She's super isolated. But you feel that because of the most important thing we should talk about this movie, which is her goddamn performance. Yeah. Are you kidding me? This is like whatever you like. You gotta think of. So I would take a lot of what you get from the character dynamics in The Shining. So Jack Nicholson's performance, Shelley Duvall's performance. I'd add some of the bartender because you get the vibe, whatever. And this movie has all three of those in one, like, performance of hers. She's kind of the monster in some of the parts, which you don't expect. She's kind of like the threat or possibly the villain. And she takes on that look all of a sudden and then takes on the look of, like, there couldn't be enough people in the city to save her. Her life is in such chaos, which is not her fault. So that swing of being vulnerable to the swing of being the threat to she's doing that mid scenes. It's unreal, kind of what's happening there. Her chemistry with all the characters. They don't give her a lot to work with for some of them. Like her relationship to Doug Ray Scott, her ex-husband or soon-to-be ex-husband or wherever the hell they are in the status of that.
Prince Charming from Ever After.
Exactly. They don't give a lot of details for that. And his performance relative to her doesn't have a lot of chemistry, but she's like 1,000 times.
You know what I will say though?
Mm-hmm.
I think they did a really good job at their relationship as a couple.
They did.
Because at the beginning of the movie, he's doing that very... it's almost every horror film. If someone's getting divorced, the husband always has to be this over the top jerk. So he does that, but then like they kind of connect on a few things, and then by the end of it, they're not going to get back together. But I don't know, they kind of handled the relationship like adults in this movie as opposed to like handling it like
well, I think that's a big part of what's happening in the subtext of this movie, right? Is like the true terrors of this. It's impossible. I cannot stress to you enough how it's impossible. There's a meme that lives inside this movie, but it'll never turn into a meme because the movie's not popular enough and the image wouldn't be striking enough. There's a moment where Jennifer Connelly, who's dealing with these incessant leaks in her apartment, and she finally gets everything settled. She's worked through 3 incompetent men phone calls to get like a fingernail's worth of progress on her problem. And then she's sitting in the apartment and you hear the drip, that one sound, and the look on her face, it's the Mount Rushmore of exasperated, I'm going to snap looks. No one has ever done that look better than she does this in this movie. But for nothing, because no one cares about this movie. It's just there in this amazing performance.
This movie needed more Tim Roth to take care of
Oh my God, the lawyer. Can we talk about the car lawyer?
He was great.
He was amazing working out of his car.
You were like, you couldn't remember the name off the top of your head. And I was still the whole time like, who's the actor going to be? And then it was Tim Roth. I was like, this movie's got Tim Roth. This movie's got everything. This just keeps giving. I love it.
He won't work in his office because it was just painted. And he can't stand the fumes. So he's driving around New York, sometimes with clients, sometimes with assistants.
Everyone was just getting new shit painted in this movie too. They just painted the apartment.
Yep.
They were going to do this to brighten it up.
Yep. Well, actually, so I'm glad you said that because I'm going to get deep for 1 second and then I'll back off, I swear. But that for the same reason that I like The Witch, which is also a divisive movie, there's something I like about the fact that you could just see. So there's a book that became a series. I don't know how well known this is now, but it was called The World Without Us.
You're gonna say chicken noodle soup for the soul. You ever heard about it?
I never heard about chicken noodle soup for the horror chicken noodle soup for the soul. But no, so never mind. I can't remember.
No. I want to know where you're going with this.
Okay, hold on. What was I talking about?
There was a real famous book.
There was I lost it. I'm on chicken.
No,
I swear to God, I'm on chicken noodles for the soul.
Oh, I ruined it.
No, it's fine. It'll come.
We were talking about we're gonna get there.
Okay.
Fresh coat of paint. Everyone's just painting things.
Right. Oh, okay. Right. World Without Us. So The World Without Us was this book that was what would happen if mankind just vanished. If we were all raptured, what would happen on Earth? And it's kind of surprising, it turns out, how fast everything falls the hell apart, right? So, like, New York City's overgrown and Planet of the Apes looking in, like, 90 years.
Wow.
You know, it doesn't last. Dubai's gone in 15, you know? Because if we're not around to maintain and fight it, whatever. And then in the book, it goes, what's the main criminal? Like, if you had to name one criminal that wipes out all of mankind's creations after we vanish in, like, a surprising amount of time, it's water. Like, water, it gets into everything. It can't be stopped. You give it the slightest crack, and it just works its way in and breaks everything apart and dissolves everything and, like, whatever. That's why New York goes so fast, right? So this movie really gives you that vibe. But there's these really cool shots where they're all surrounded, and you just see all these humans in the background just constantly doing something to fight back the elements. All these umbrellas and people are hammering and putting up like plastic screens, and the water just keeps coming and everything keeps breaking. And we keep cutting back to scenes where everything they just did was wiped out. And the water's just winning in the background everywhere, and it can't be stopped. And the movie's not obvious about pointing it out, but it just gives you this like water claustrophobia,
right?
That takes effect and puts you in the mindset of Jennifer Connelly's character while she's doing this amazing performance. The movie's doing you an amazing job of making you feel like saturated, like she was, right? That you just want to go to a desert and just roll around in some sand after you watch this goddamn movie. And she's feeling like that all the time, right? So she just is kind of a stand-in for the constant human need to maintain, to have to write down a password or save it somewhere or fix this or replace that or my shoe just broke or my like whatever. And that feeling we have about how unstoppable that force is, that's like the true horror.
Yeah.
Right? That's the love, it's like Office Lovecraft.
That's right. Because the other movie I was thinking was Dagon. There's so much rain in this movie.
Right.
You wonder there's like a fish queen somewhere, just lurking around.
It's like urban Lovecraft is like, what if Lovecraft, what if the greater forces of Lovecraft were like boredom and stubbed toes and annoyances of life instead of the elder ones? That's what this movie represents, and it does a great job of it.
The other thing I liked,
yes,
was so Jennifer Connelly's getting divorced with the husband. She takes custody of they're splitting custody with the girl, and she finds a school, and she has like a cutout, and she's like, "This place has one of the best schools." I love that they actually made the school and the teacher like super lovable and awesome, and totally. That it was going to be a great school. Because any other horror movie would be like, "Oh, the schools are so great," and then it cuts to some rundown school and someone's getting
because
bullied.
the movie did that joke like 5 times. John C. Reilly would be like, "Oh, you're good." Oh my god, his tour of the apartment.
She was like, "Where's the second bedroom?" Well, it's like a twofer or whatever he called it. He had some name for it.
What do you call the thing in the kitchen when they just fold out the table? He's like, it's kind of a eat-in, sit-in.
It's good when you're entertaining, and then boom, no cluster.
I mean, it was amazing. But,
is the foyer closet?
Oh, that was his best line. His best line during the showing was she's like, "Is this the closet?" He's like, "That's the foyer closet." It's like 4 feet away.
You cannot argue that John C. Reilly's one of the funniest people on the planet. Like,
no, and that was funny because it struck me like if John C. Reilly gets banned somehow from acting, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But if something happened to him, he could do this job. He could really do this job in life.
Well, it's funny. He's good at it.
when
they first go to the apartment, he was like, "Yeah, it was built by these 2 guys, and it was a brutalist."
It was built in the brutalist style.
But he was like, "It's built in 1870," but it's the same speech he gives Will Ferrell and Step Brothers. He's like, "The house was built by Colonel Mustard." So I just was like, "Oh my god!" Every movie John C. Reilly's in, he has to give a brief history about whatever building he's in.
So I don't know. I haven't looked. I don't know how many podcast episodes exist in the universe or online or are currently accessible about this film. I expect there were probably a smattering of 3 or 4 by some larger names like Bloody Good Horror or whatever that might still be accessible, but probably not a lot. But none of them have this much laughter in them. No. Why was this movie such a fun ride?
I don't understand.
This movie is not known for this. It doesn't look like it should be fun. But I don't think we've laughed as much in an episode in a while. But that was the thing is everything was fun. The backpack mystery was fun. The laundromat was fun. Dumb Bill and Steve from 4F were hilarious. That the kids and the payoff of them actually kind of working with a criminal conspiracy in the background with Doug Ray Scott's character, that was fun, right? I do like that the movie didn't pull a punch. It does have the lawyer sweep in and kind of actually throw some support behind her character, take some of the weight of all the burdens with finally, which is a great relief moment. But it's not. He also tells her she's in crisis and calls in the middle of the night. And he's like, I'm with my family. I can't get away from my family right now, or I'll end up divorced or whatever. And then they cut away and he hangs up and he's just in a theater alone. Like he's also a liar. Like everyone's letting Jennifer Connelly down in this movie perpetually. Even the guy who's sort of helping is also letting her down. So the movie didn't try to George Bailey him or make him perfect or, whatever. So I like that it was, that it was realistic. I mean, the movie's realistic enough to make me never want to live in her apartment building.
No, even if it's the only place in town for under $1,000. I mean, how many movies we watch were like? It's funny. All the things that I'm quoting are all John C. Reilly's characters.
Well, naturally.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I don't want to quote that little girl like "Be my mom forever."
Sassy was great though. Her reaction to the apartment building was awesome.
Her reactions were great. The chemistry between the mother and daughter, like you buy instantly.
Totally.
I don't know, man. Like it's shot really well. The atmosphere is great. The music by what's his name, Angelo.
So it's Angelo Badalamenti, which all is the amazing force behind Twin Peaks and a lot of other amazing things. But his music is priceless. When you get a chance to have him in a movie, oh my God.
You know what's weird is the last movie we did, he did the score for it too. Has that ever happened in How Low Can We Go?
That's true. Holy crap. And no, that can't possibly have happened before.
Oh man, I wonder.
That's cool. That's great.
Wow.
But it's such a different feel that it didn't even occur to me to put those two things together. Amazing.
But so the movie's great, the acting's great,
right.
Cinematography great, the editing's great, the special effects are cool.
Yes. The scare level is low, but the unsettled level is high. And if the kind of movie where it's not, because it's not going to be, it's Rosemary's Baby, really, right? Rosemary's Baby is not scary. Right, let's be honest. There's maybe two. To me, Repulsion's scarier than Rosemary's Baby if you're in that direction. But either way, the one charge against this movie that would stick if you were a horror fan, like whatever, is if you're in the mood to be scared, this isn't it, right? But if you're in the mood to be unsettled, go for it.
Yeah, if you dig
if you like 80% rated.
Oh, geez, if you like the Studio Ghibli, if you like Silent Hill, check it out. Where would you rate it?
The thing is, I've lost some interest in the rating of good and bad or whatever, but I'm going to invest this rating with more of, I find this movie strangely rewatchable. There are movies that happens, with, that are sometimes we all share it. Sometimes everyone's like, oh yeah, we all know that, The Shining is rewatchable, but this movie is strangely rewatchable. Like, I can do it like this. I've watched The Unborn like 3 times. I liked it least on the third, so it was starting to diminish, right? This movie has gotten better every single time I watched it. So all I can do is say I kind of thought it was 80 going in, so I just have to move it to like 82. Because it's getting better every time I watch it. It'll be 86 next time I.
50 is criminal. 50 or 51
right.
is.
You get that scale.
Nuts.
That scale is broken. This is an interesting film with an amazing performance. I mean, it's all amazing performances, but like a truly amazing performance at its heart. And that's the thing. I just, of all things to walk away from this is, you don't get performances like this in any genre more than a few times a year. That's it. I mean, there are only a few of these. So to not have this one in because the movie's been lost, the only way that would make sense is if the movie was truly bad, and this movie is not. So welcome back in, Dark Water.
Real quick, we have something to plug.
Let's do it. Oh, that's
Horror Hotel.
Oh my God, talk.
Okay, so my fiance and her writing partner have a book coming out, like a real book, like a book, like a book.
Like
you know what I'm talking about? Like it's printed.
In front of us
it's got
cover.
like the cool ass company like logo on the back.
Yes, exactly.
And I didn't know this, so it's called Horror Hotel.
Yes.
By Victoria Fulton and Faith McLaren. And I'm just finding this out now. Apparently, if you go to Barnes and Noble, you can get 25% off a pre-order. And it's called Horror Hotel, so you could imagine what's going to happen. It's actually really weird that we're doing this movie because one of the things they base it off was the Hotel Cecil and the Lisa Lamb, the woman who was found in the water tank. This movie has a woman in a water tank.
Right. It's so weird that
the timing of it's actually really
right, because we
freaky.
just wandered our way through How Low Can We Go to this moment, and now this movie and this book have come together. So check both of them out.
Yeah, and if you follow us on Instagram, I just posted a link to the book trailer. The book trailer is really good,
and all that will show up on the Facebook.
The
page
book,
well.
I mean, because a lot of book trailers suck, but this book trailer is
this book trailer.
It's really good. So not only is it got a lot of atmosphere to it. Like the guy who made it really likes horror movies with atmosphere in it. I've also heard he's really handsome.
Indeed. I've heard all these things.
I did it. Check it out. I'm actually really proud of it. I spent like a whole week on it in After Effects. It's like adding layers to shit.
Yes, definitely go check it out. It's amazing.
So check it out. It's called Horror Hotel. The pre-orders or for that deal for on Barnes & Noble, I think ends on the 28th. What's today? Is it today 28th?
No.
26. Okay, so you got 2 days on that, but the book officially comes out. I believe it's February 1st.
They've got 1 day. This comes out tomorrow from when we're recording it. So act fast.
Oh, that's right. Act very fast. Act fast. Oh, and if you didn't act fast,
unless you're dropping this tonight, I don't know what you're doing.
We'll do it tomorrow. Okay. Libsyn tells me. Libsyn tells me when it's. But we are gonna do a couple signed copy giveaways.
Yes.
We're not sure how we're gonna do it, but we are gonna do it.
We are definitely gonna do it, and we'll definitely show up first on the Facebook page, Facebook Hello Weekly. So
yeah, I'll probably share it on Instagram. So, but be on the Facebook page for all the most up to date.
Well, it's gonna show up everywhere, but it's probably gonna show up first the giveaway part.
Actually, the trailer's gonna show up first. I'm gonna post that. Shit
oh hell yeah! Just go find all the stuff. I cannot wait for people to see the cover of this book and then read
it's really good. So like we've been doing the horror game online for a while, and there was a certain Exorcist poster that came out. It was like a custom made Exorcist poster, but everyone posted it because it was really great. And if you saw it, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. I wish I knew the designer's name, but that guy did the cover for this, and apparently he likes to incorporate skulls and everything. So there's like a cool skull in the hotel. It just looks really killer. So look for that. Admire the book cover. Give it a little pre-order. And until next time, stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror movies.
Read a bunch of horror books.
Stay dry. And we'll talk to you next time.